One of the biggest problems and the most pervasive problems in society today is loneliness. And unfortunately, we've built a society that feeds into keeping us isolated. As humans, communally, we're strong. We're strong because we could get 50 to 100 of us together and build a house to keep us out of the elements. We're strong because we can work together to create stuff. We're strong because of that. A lot of our society these days is built, all of our society these days is built on what others have done for us. Roads, simple stuff like that, roads, food, things like that, that other people have discovered to make our lives better. If you order food from a restaurant and you may not even think it, you think, oh, that person's taking so long. Why isn't my food here? You don't think about the farmer that grew the crops. You don't think about the truckers who drove the crops to their location. You don't think about the kitchen people chopping it. You don't think about the people um, making it. You don't think about the, all you see is the server bringing it out. There's this whole chain that we're a part of that we don't think. And so, this idea of us being lonely in this society where we're so interdependent on each other is really, really almost paradoxical because, on one way, we're more in touch. 1,000 years ago, you could have a couple people living, farming, or hunting and gathering, doing these sorts of things. Now we're in our rooms, we're driving on roads built by people, we're living in a house built by other people, we're even in our closet, we might have clothes from 20 different countries, but we're still alone and feeling lonely. And amongst children, amongst the youth, these feelings are even more pervasive. These feelings are amplified. And this buildup of individualism. And really, what it is, in a large sense, we are building up the individual. When you build up the individual, you're building up my likes, my desires, my thoughts. And that creates some sort of conflict. If I think that my way of being is somehow sanctified, you're going to come into conflict with somebody else, not because they're trying to come into conflict with you, but if I have this way of doing things and I think this is the right way of doing things, you're going to invariably have some level of conflict with somebody who thinks of a different way of doing things. They want to do their things. I want to do my things. And so, is it possible to live in this world and not be lonely, to have this sort of stuff? You have people, unfortunately, now that can have a wife, 5 kids, be part of um, be a head of a company, and they're still lonely. You have the person sitting home just watching, scrolling through videos all day, and they're lonely. And really, what it comes down to is it comes down to being willing, becoming flexible, breaking down your barriers, and being willing to go with somebody else, not having it to be my way. If I have it my way all the time, the way the world works is you're going to be lonely. If you're inflexible, if you're not able to enjoy others' successes. I had a meeting the other day, and one of my friends might be have some big thing happening in his life, some very big uh positive thing. And he texts me, he's like, I can't make the meeting. This is happening. I'm like, go, I enjoy it. Like, you're doing well. I'm enjoying you doing well. For me, somebody I know is doing really well. I'm happy, right? And that's cheaper than any drug. It's easy. If you see somebody succeeding, it's not, I want that. It's like, I can be happy for you. Yes, I might want that as well. I can be happy for you. So, realizing what is loneliness, what is at the core of loneliness, and it's me putting up walls. Most of the time, we're doing them unconsciously, right? But we build these walls, what I like, what I don't like, what my pictures are, what my face looks like, all these sorts of things. None of it's wrong, but you build the walls too thickly and nothing can get in. And then you wonder about being lonely. And so, narcissism, psychologically, narcissism is on the rise. Narcissism is basically me elevating myself above everybody else. If I elevate myself above everybody else, I have this hunger that I need everybody else to support my view that I'm above everybody else, to constantly like build up, to buttress my walls. And that's going to inevitably lead to more and more loneliness. Our phones can be a great way to communicate. Do we use them for communication most of the time? Or do we use them to isolate ourselves? All of these things are within our power. And what you'll find is helping somebody else isn't just about helping somebody else. Helping somebody else, there are physiological and psychological benefits to it. There are endorphins that happen. There is all sorts of this cascade of chemicals in your mind, in your body when you help somebody else. It's not this isolated thing of, oh, I help somebody else. It connects you, and we're built that way. That's the way we're built. Now, as you progress spiritually, you start to find that connection not just with humans. You find that connection with animals. You find that connection with trees. You find that connection with the forest, with the sky. So that can come down in a large sense. It can come down. There are monks who are seem like the happiest people in the world that live in a cave. You know, you see some of those Buddhist monks and they smile and their face lights up. You see some of these monks at different places, their face lights up. That's because they're able to, their connection is so deep and so profound that they don't need to talk to you. They don't need to, they're already feeling like you're part of them. And I think that's where loneliness has this almost catch 22 type thing where you, as you become less of a person, less of an individual, loneliness goes down. And you think, oh, well, no, I need to go out and connect with people. I need to do that. And one of the fascinating things is as you get rid of that need and you allow others to connect, you do for others. And that's just an action. But I see somebody hurting and I help them in some way. I see this and I help them in some way. Or I just can have empathy for them. Maybe I can't help them. And then I see them as part of myself, as part of this whole wonderful life. Like if you look at our world, the fact that there's life in this world is insane. Like it's just being here is a miracle in a certain sense. How are we disconnected? It's by our own doing. And that's not to blame somebody, but if you find ways, especially if you're in a position of authority, especially if you're in a position where you have some power in the world, you have that. The funny thing is, those people feel more isolated. Those people in general, up in their ivory towers, so to speak, they feel much more isolated. So finding people to mentor, finding people to help, finding people to connect with, finding some way of doing, being as part of a group, as part of a whole, is even more important for them. Because one of the indicators of longevity is having people in your life. Now, that's just from a very non spiritualistic standpoint. But even within spiritualism, I think there are people who can go about it alone and just go off alone and do it. But those people are very rare. And the rest of us need it. You need that connection. You need those people. You need those endorphins. You need to make it beautiful. And there are solutions to this. And unfortunately, the solutions are way too simple. Unfortunately, people are wanting some big complex thing where we're going to build this rocket ship and go to the place where we're not lonely. you know, and it's not. You don't need to blast off. It's not that. I mean, even just sitting in, you go outside in the forest or you say hi to people. It's really strange walking around in public because people are so afraid to connect and so afraid to, what do you want from me? But and then you get to know them and they're like desperate for it, right? They're the most desperate for it, and so they put up these walls. And I think that loneliness, given how we're connected, loneliness is something that is very easily solved. But to have loneliness solved for you, you have to be willing to bend. And then you have to find the people who are willing to support you as you bend, as you lower those walls, as you do that. And it may not be the people who are, it may not be the people who are, it may be the people who you don't expect, right? It may not be the people who you expect. You know, your family, if your family's not supportive, figure out who you're going to connect with as friends. If your friends aren't supportive, talk to people. I have a friend who just recently got sober. And for her, AA has been this amazing thing where she's in this supportive community, and seeing her grow as part of that has been truly, truly incredible. And for as long as I've known her, she's had some substance abuse problems and she's been sober. I believe it's coming up on 2 years. And it's incredible because she found the community that was supportive for her. So, in whatever you're wanting to do, whether it's you're going to spirituality, go find that community. You want to go get sober, find that community. You want to make films, find that community. And find the ones that you're cheering their successes, they're cheering your successes, and that honestly want the best for you. They're rare, but they're there, and we find that community and we grow it. And eventually other people will look at that and say, well, we want in too. Okay, well, you're welcome to come in, but you have to do your work as well. So I think loneliness is probably the big issue of our times in many ways, that recognized and unrecognized. I think it affects so many people here in the West, even in the family. You don't always know who to trust. That's one of the wonderful things about Indians. And I tell people about the Indian families is that their kids know that they're loved. Their kids know that they're supported. They're not supposed to be, in the West, a lot of times it's you're 18, get out of the house. You're 18, go be yourself. And in Indian families, they're like, you're 18 and you're not married, don't move out. You stay here. You eat my food. You cook. And so that feeling of being loved and cared for is such an important thing. Um, but unfortunately, India is going the way of the West in certain areas as well, and becoming modern. And I think that us looking at each other, finding that community, finding those people, and growing together and supporting each other is going to be what makes humanity thrive over the next couple challenging years. And it's going to be what allows us to make a better world for the next generation, instead of what there's a lot of depression in the younger generation looking at the world. What are we going to do with it? And so finding that community, it's going to be this grassroots thing where we all grow together. And it's, how do we give? How do we give with the sense that we will eventually get? But if you find the right community, I can give for you because I know at some point you'll also give for me. And even if you don't, I'm okay because the connection and what we did was worth it.